when the opportunity comes for me to give to this church, for me to give to God, for him to use something of my finances and my wealth and my stuff to bless someone else with, do I have a passion for that? Do I have a heart for that? Because the honest truth is, if I don't have a heart for it, I'm not going to do it, at least not consistently. And the more that I have a heart for giving, the more generous I will become. Something that we should, as followers of Jesus, have a heart for, and that's giving. And here's why. Here's a few reasons why. One is that my giving is an act of service. That God calls me to look out for other people and to serve other people and to recognize needs and to try to meet those needs. That's something that I'm called to do. And my giving is an act of service. It's an act of helping me meet somebody else's needs. Paul tells us, Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 and 4, don't do anything out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. And look what he says in verse 4. Each of you should look out not only to your own interest, but also to the interests of others. Paul acknowledges, I've got needs. There's things in my life that I need to spend my money on. There's things in my life that I need to take care of. That's totally true, totally accurate. But what does Paul say? I don't need to just worry about me. Who else do I need to worry about? You. I need to worry about other people, which kind of goes back to what we were talking about last week, having a heart for people. I need to recognize and have open eyes to see what are the needs in the lives of people around me. And how can I give towards that? Because my giving is an act of serving others, putting others' needs above my own. My giving is also an act of worship. I am honoring God when I choose to give my finances. I am praising God for what he has blessed me with. And I'm using those blessings to honor him as well as to help other people. I'm acknowledging the fact that all the stuff that I have came from him in the first place. In Proverbs chapter 3, Solomon says, honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. I am praising God with my gift. So let's ask an honest question to ourselves this morning. What kind of praise am I giving? What kind of honor am I giving God by how I choose to give? Because my giving is an act of worship. It's an act of lifting up his name because of what he has blessed me with. My giving is also an act of faith. When I give back to God, when I give to this church, that's an act of faith. I am trusting that the people who are taking charge of those finances are going to be good stewards of it. That the leadership here, if I'm giving to this church, the leadership here is going to take good care of my gift and use it in a way that is going to bless other people and bring honor to God. I am choosing to believe that God is going to continue to take care of me in spite of me giving some of my finances away. That he's going to bless me on the other side of that. And it may not be an equal, I'm not saying that in a payback way. God's going to look at what I gave and go, okay, I'm going to automatically give you that much back. That's not the deal. I'm just going to trust that he's going to take care of me no matter what. And when I give in a way that my heart is moved to give, when I give uncomfortably, God's going to bless me because of that. Maybe not even necessarily more wealth, but he's going to take care of me. This is what God says to his people in Malachi. Malachi was a prophet that lived a few hundred years before Jesus. And God's people were struggling with their giving and having a heart for giving. And God, through Malachi, says this in Malachi chapter 3 and verse 10, bring the whole tithe, bring the whole gift into the storehouses that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing, there will not be room enough to store it. God says, trust me, test me, see what happens when you choose to give, when you choose to step out in faith and give. I'm going to bless you. Now notice he doesn't say, I'm going to pour so much money into your bank account because you chose to give. That's not what he says. He says, I'm going to pour out blessings. Not just back to you, I'm going to bless other people. I'm going to shower blessings on you and the people that you come in contact with. I'm going to pour out blessings in ways that you never could imagine because you took a step of faith. My giving is an act of service, and it's an act of worship. and it's an act of faith, and it matters. It matters to my God that I have a heart for giving, that I have a generous heart. So let's be honest. And maybe this is me being honest with you. I wish that I could say, I'll just put it on me. I wish that I could say 100% of the time, I am just excited to give when given the opportunity. That's not the case. I'm moving that direction, hopefully. But it's not always the case. And I would imagine maybe many of us in this room or online feel the same way. What is it that causes that to happen, though? Why do I either not have a heart for giving, or something gets in the way of me having a heart for giving, or why do I have kind of this roller coaster relationship with my giving? And I'm going to share some things that I struggle with, and maybe you do as well. For some of us, the reason that we struggle to have a heart for giving is because it involves a lack of control. I like to control things. I like to control my finances. I don't always do a good job controlling my finances, but I like to think that I do. I like to dictate where my money goes. I like to be in control of that. I like to have a say in that and what I do in my stuff. And when I make a donation, I often want to even tell the person that I'm giving it to, now here's what you do with this. Because I want to have that sense of control. And when I choose to give to God, when I choose to give to this church, and I choose in that moment to let go not just of the money itself, not just of my stuff. I'm letting go of control. I am trusting that somebody else is going to do a good job with that. And I can't have a heart that is devoted and dedicated to giving. I can't have a heart for giving if I want to be in control of my giving and what happens to my gift. Some of us struggle with a lack of finances. Or at least that's what we've convinced ourselves of. I don't have enough to give. I would really like to give more than I do, but I just can't. I don't have, there's other people that can give more than I can because I just don't have it right now. I can't. And you know what? When I start making more, when I start getting more money, I will give more money. It's usually not the case, to be honest with you. I came across a story about John D. Rockefeller. If you don't know who John D. Rockefeller was, he was one of the wealthiest men in the country back in the late early 1900s. Wealthy man. I mean, almost beyond comprehension how much money he ended up having in his lifetime. Towards the end of his life, he became very philanthropic. He gave to a lot of different organizations and created a lot of different things for public use and really tried to be a generous giving person. But that didn't start just because he started having millions and millions and millions of dollars. The reason that he was in the habit of giving his finances away in his old age was because he started that habit at his young age. And he was tithing to his church, he says, when he was only making $1.50 a week. He was committed to giving some of that $1.50 to the church that he was a part of. The habit started when he didn't have very much. And it just continued when he had more. But some of us will convince ourselves, myself included sometimes, we'll convince ourselves, I don't have enough to give, therefore I can't give. And it's really not a matter of the dollar amount, it's a matter of the heart. Some of us struggle to have a heart for giving because we lack humility. This is my money, it's my stuff, it's my property. I'm the one that earned it. And so I should be the one to benefit the most from it. And man, that sounds so self-centered and selfish, and you know what? It is. And there's almost none of us that would say those things out loud, much less in our heads, and yet that's where our hearts really are. This is mine. I own it. It belongs to me. And I want to dictate what happens to it. And I want to be humble enough to say, God, you can use this for better purposes. You can do something with this, and so I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to trust the leaders of this church to do something with what it is that God has blessed me with. No. I want to hold on to it because I earned it. I made this money. I'm going to dictate what happens to it. Some of us, again, we just have a lack of faith. I don't know that my giving will even make a difference. I don't know that something's going to happen with what little or what amount that I give. I don't know that I can fully trust the people that I'm giving it to. I don't necessarily believe that God's going to take care of me because of what I'm choosing to give. And so I'm going to worry and I'm going to stress about it, and so I'm just not going to give. Or at least I'm going to give kind of in a grudging way. Because I just don't have the faith to believe that God's going to bless my gift. And God's going to take care of me when I choose to give. So where there's a lack of control, a lack of finances, a lack of humility, a lack of faith, maybe it's one of those things. Maybe it's a combination of a couple of those things. Maybe it's all four of those. Maybe there's more reasons that if you are having an honest conversation with yourself this morning or later on this week, that you recognize, there's some things that are getting in my way of having a heart for giving. And folks, again, I'm not talking about the dollar amount and how much it is. Do I have a heart that says when the opportunity comes for me to give to this church, for me to give to God, for him to use something of my finances and my wealth and my stuff to bless someone else with, do I have a passion for that? Do I have a heart for that? Because the honest truth is, if I don't have a heart for it, I'm not going to do it. At least not consistently. And the more that I have a heart for giving, the more generous I will become.